Hi, I'm Lisa from PosterMyWall. Welcome to Recipes for Success, Tiny Marketing Actions that Yield Big Results. Our guest today is Pamela Slim. If you find it difficult or even painful to make time to do marketing, today's class is for you. Business coach and author Pamela Slim is going to share her system, Tiny Marketing Actions. You'll learn to grow your business painlessly and profitably by a series of small actions repeated continuously over time. Pam is an award-winning author, business coach, and co-founder with her husband Daryl of the K Community Lab in Mesa, Arizona. Her latest book, The Widest Net, delivers a business growth system centered on customer relationships. Pam has created a workbook to go along with the class. You'll find a link to download that in the class description. If you stick with us till the end of training, we have two goodies for you. The first one is a promo code to get a discount on PosterMyWall. The second one is that Pam has provided 6 tiny marketing action recipe books for you to download and use to grow your business. Let's get started.
Hello, I'm Pamela Slim, and I am an author and a business coach, and I am so excited to partner with PosterMyWall to do a series about tiny marketing actions. I developed the methodology of tiny marketing actions over many years of working with clients. It's part of the bigger methodology that I laid out in my latest book called The Widest Net. But the most important thing that I love to share about tiny marketing actions is it makes it feasible for just about any business owner in any kind of industry to begin to generate some momentum and visibility to get more customers through the door. I've been in business for 27 years and have worked with people from just about every profession you can imagine. My husband and I also run a small business learning lab in our own community, downtown Mesa, Arizona. So we're extremely familiar with the brick and mortar businesses down the road, coffee shops, breweries, restaurants, clothing stores, vendors who come out during special events to be selling things. And so really what I'm hoping as you are participating in these courses and working with some of the supplementary materials in the workbook is that you pay attention to the kinds of things that work for you. Not every business owner is going to have the same strategy for marketing. You each have different types of customers. You have a different personality. And so you want to be choosing the kinds of marketing activities that are really a fit for you. So where we are going to start today is with the concept of a tiny marketing action recipe. And that's going to be some very specific guidance that you can see with some examples about ways you can just start to practice and experiment doing something specific that takes a short period of time over a period of some consistency. So let's get started. All right, so for our recipes, let's first start with a definition of what tiny marketing actions means. So I define tiny marketing actions as these small daily marketing actions delivered consistently over a long period of time to build your brand, your business, and your bank account. As I was saying earlier, not every single one of you is going to like to do the same marketing activities. You work in different kinds of businesses. And so depending upon the nature of your business, certain things might work better than others. And as we get deeper into our series of courses, you're also going to notice that depending on the outcome that you want from a marketing perspective, you might be using different activities. There's a difference between getting somebody in the door today that's willing to open their checkbook or take out their credit card versus things that you might do to get more visibility about your business, ways you can get in front of people to begin to build the relationships so that over time, when they're ready, they could be purchasing from you. So we're thinking about tiny marketing actions as a series of activities that are going to be hand selected and cultivated by you that will be documented in recipes, which some of you who focus on the operations of your business may also think about it as an SOP or a standard operating procedure. And the idea is that you're really developing these so that you can have some consistent practices that you and people who work with you in your business do over time to make sure that you always have new people coming through the door. Probably the biggest complaint that I get from business owners, the biggest fear, the things that keeps them up at night is what do I do in order to make sure I always have new people coming back and I don't run out of money? Cash flow is a really big issue for a lot of people. So that's why we want to be taking tiny marketing actions. This is my husband, Daryl. And this picture is right in front of our learning lab. It's called CAC Community Lab, which is right here downtown in Mesa, Arizona. My husband had a heavy equipment construction business for many, many years. And so he is really familiar with that kind of business, what it takes in order to find out about projects that are happening locally. As I said, I have been a business coach to people through over many years, many people in professional services, people like doctors and data scientists and CPAs. But we do have many, many friends here downtown that also have all kinds of different businesses, micro businesses, and then those that are growing, where it might be a restaurant who starts in one place and wants to begin to expand in other areas of the valley. So that's just the foundation of where a lot of these recipes come from. And I look forward to sharing some examples and seeing the ones that resonate for you. All right, so let's look at the components of what a tiny marketing action recipe actually is. First, it does focus on a very specific audience. You might notice that you have a couple different kinds of people who are important to your marketing efforts. One may be the end user, that customer who, for example, comes into your coffee shop and always buys a cup of coffee every day. Those favorite customers probably deserve some very, very special treatment from a marketing side. So maybe after you see them every day for 2 weeks, you might want to stop them, give them a coupon for a free coffee and say, you know what, I appreciate the fact that of all the places you could go, you always stop in here every day. That would be an example of something that would be so kind to do to somebody who is one of your passionate regular customers. A different kind of marketing partner or audience you could have for that same coffee shop could be the bakery down the road. So maybe you decide with that bakery that you want to do a special kind of promotion during a special event in your local community to promote both your excellent coffee and their amazing pastries. So these are ways that you can look at some of the different audiences that you have, and you will be doing different types of marketing activities depending upon who you're thinking about in your business. The other really important piece about a tiny marketing action is that it is almost insultingly small. I use tiny and small for a very good reason, and that is most people do not have time to be spending hours and hours with marketing activities. We have fleeting moments, whether we are on hold, trying to resolve a technical issue, to spending time waiting in line to get our own coffee, to having a break between calls where we have a few minutes to do something. And so it's really important for the tiny marketing action component of your marketing that you do focus on something that is really, really small. It is common when I'm using this methodology with people at first and teaching it that they're like, are you kidding me, Pam? Is it really as simple as picking up your phone and scrolling through your contacts and just sending a quick text to somebody who maybe was a great customer in the past that you haven't talked to? To which I usually reply, yes, it is that simple. And know that it's in a bigger context that we will dig into in future parts of this series, where we look strategically at really what is the big picture of what you have in place for your marketing, so that when you're taking your tiny marketing actions, it's really easy to do them. At first, like this first time that you're jumping in for this first class, I hope that you just trust yourself a little bit, experiment, and take a little bit of a risk to try things that you haven't tried before. The last piece is that you want these tiny marketing actions to be refined and repeated by others in your business. If you are the business owner, the founder, and you are doing business development, marketing, sales, delivering services, handling customer complaints, processing refunds, that's going to be really hard for you to maintain that energy over time. So you want to be choosing the tiny marketing actions that work for your business. And you want to have other people who are able to do them, hence having a recipe, because where you're writing down the exact steps that you're taking as you bring in other great people into your business, they can start to take some of this action as part of their job description. And so it's really important that you think about it, not just what do I, the business owner, need to do to bring in business, but what does my business need? And specifically, what are activities that do not require me personally to do the action? There are certain things that you probably want to do personally, but not every single aspect of marketing your business. The metaphor I think about a lot for any of you who are parents like I am, when the oldest that my husband and I had together, Joshua, was younger, he loved Legos. Now he's 18, just about to graduate from high school. But with those Legos, I would get a bit of anxiety because I am not naturally more of an engineering minded person. I am not somebody who can creatively put together something really cool that looks like a dinosaur from just random Legos. And so I was so excited to find some of the sets that had specific instructions in them. And I found that even with more of a complicated build, where we worked together step by step, putting each piece together, it became actually enjoyable. So that's what you want to be doing is you're assembling the different pieces. You don't want it to be the metaphor in marketing of Legos all over the floor. Has anybody ever stepped on a Lego? It's very painful. That's what can happen if you just have all kinds of activities that are never executed in a systematic way. Build your instructions, build one piece at a time, and that's where you start to see some peace and some momentum. So let's look at a couple different recipes to look at some examples. One of them, for those of you who might have the kind of business that really lends itself to be visual, Pinterest is a great site where you could create photo artwork, you could create something on PosterMyWall, where you are putting a picture of something and you're putting a link back to your website. This works a lot with people that might do renovations for homes. Maybe you're showing examples of how to renovate a bathroom or a kitchen. It works really well for people who might be showing some kind of an art, jewelry, or pieces of art. But you really can start to drive a lot of traffic back to your website if you're using an image and maybe putting a couple words in the description about it into Pinterest. So this can be an example of something that you could do. Maybe you've just finished a beautiful job, you snap a picture of it, you upload it, tag it to Pinterest, and then when people are searching, they will be coming to your site and they would be eager to learn more about you. Partnerships. Many of you might follow different people who are more senior experts in your field. Maybe they're mentors, they're people who your ideal customers really love. And so one of the things you can do to begin to build a relationship with people that is a tiny marketing action is just to send what I call a love letter. You can write them a note specifically saying, what do you enjoy about their work, their humanity, their approach? You could do a handwritten note. You could use some of the great services where somebody could do the writing for you if you're pressed for time. But the key is to recognize that people are human. If they're an author, if they're a speaker, maybe a favorite podcast host, believe me, as somebody who's written 3 books, I get super excited whenever somebody reaches out who I don't know and says, thank you for writing that book. It made a big difference in my life. I pay attention. I go look up to see who they are. I often send them a note back or drop a message, or I might even post something with their permission on social media. And so it's really important to take the time in the beginning of a relationship to introduce yourself. Maybe you might meet them at a conference, and slowly over time, you can meet people who have formerly been your heroes that might become advocates and refers a business to your business. Another example is to think about past colleagues and coworkers. All of us that probably have those favorite people who we'd love to go to lunch with, who we love spending time, who loved our work. Maybe it's a past manager. And even if, for example, you used to work in financial services and now you totally change careers and you have a small graphic design agency, I guarantee you that the people who love working with you in financial services would be super excited to hear what you're working on now. And so if you look up folks, reach out. You could write a short note. You could maybe set up a 15 or 20-minute call. This can be a way that you can reconnect with them, let them know what you're working on in very clear ways, and then learn about what they're working on, because maybe they're doing something that's highly complementary, or you're just excited to be sharing the good things that they're doing. So never discount the fact that just because you work with somebody in a different area of your life or business, that they couldn't still be great fans and advocates and referral partners. Another example of a tiny marketing action recipe would be to review your favorite clients from the past 1 to 3 years. All the research shows that very often the best referral partners, the most likely people, if you need especially more of the short-term cash or resources, are those people who you have already worked with, who know your work intimately. So you can select somebody who you identify as being an ideal client. You can send them an email to check in, remind them how much you enjoyed working with them, and find out what they're working on. I have had it happen over and over when I teach tiny marketing actions in a class where somebody does that. The client says, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you. I have a new project. What are you doing?" Or I know you did a great job on the bathroom. We're just about to get ready to do my kitchen. You want to put a bid in for it? And this could be a chance for you to reconnect. So make sure that you are checking in, you're paying attention to who are your best customers, and you have a regular way that you could reach out and see how they're doing. You don't always have to be selling something to them. They just want to know that you really care about them. Another example are journalists. Journalists are very important here in our local community, especially our breweries, our restaurants, our cafes. They love to get featured and get press. And so get to know the journalists who cover the specific beat in your local area. When you know the people who tend to write articles that are relevant for your business. Look back if you go on the website of your local newspaper. You can click on the name of the reporter, and then usually you see a list of all the different things they've written. So become familiar with what they've frequently written about. And then you can reach out in a quick, tiny marketing action, introduce yourself, and let them know that you're available to be a resource for a story. It doesn't have to be just for you. You could be a resource also with providing them somebody they need for a particular feature. And then follow them in social media. Many journalists are on Twitter and other social media areas. And that way you can just pay close attention, because very often when they're in need of a resource or somebody for a quote, they're going to remember folks who have been really helpful to them before. So remember, you don't have to pitch them. You can just reach out and introduce yourself as a resource if they're working on something in the future. And then finally, peanut butter and jelly partners are extremely important. I define PB&Js as people who have a highly complementary but non-competitive service to you. So for me as a business coach, my PB&Js are intellectual property attorneys, graphic designers, CPAs, tax planners, all the folks that work also with my ideal clients. So find your PB&J partners. You can start out just by introducing yourself, or you could ask people who you work with, who are your favorite service providers that you think would be really a good fit with me and my values? And then you could actually have your customers introduce them to you. So these are just all some examples. We're going to have more resources for you of types of different tiny marketing action recipes. But as you can see, they're very short. They're things you can do consistently over time. And as you begin to build some momentum in this area, that's where you can really start to see a difference in your business. Now, I will tell you that as you get moving and as you're starting to work, you may find that you get some of these marketing monsters that pop up. We have more detail in the workbook related to this class. But if you start to recognize, get a little anxious, that you're really distracted, that you want to do things, but you get a little bit overwhelmed, or you just feel like you're too busy doing things and you can't really take action, try to take a deep breath. Know that in a future class, I'm going to give you some very specific tools in each of these different areas to be dealing with your marketing monsters. But if one of these come up, pay attention to it and write it down. You could just put a little X in your workbook by some of these different marketing monsters that pop up. Maybe it's the emotional distraction. You get all excited, you're going to implement a recipe, and all of a sudden you're just like, ugh, I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like it. I feel yucky. I'm sad. I'm mad. Emotions are great, but they can also be distracting. So if you notice that one of these different emotional distractions is getting in the way of you taking action for the recipes, pay attention to what it is, and I promise that I'll give you some solutions in an upcoming class. The other area where marketing monsters show up is perfectionism. You think you have to know it all. You have to have everything totally organized in order to take action. You feel awkward because you've never done it before. So just recognize this is normal, but try to make the tiny marketing actions smaller, maybe reach out to somebody more familiar and challenge yourself to take the step as opposed to putting it off. The last can be systems distraction. Sometimes we think we just need the perfect system to get all organized, and we can get really overwhelmed by that, or we're trying to do one part of marketing and we just get too technical with it and make it too complicated. Try to keep things simple. You do not have to have really shiny, complicated tools. The important thing is that you just experiment with some of these recipes and notice how they feel. Don't just try them once, try it at least a few times, because that's part of where we're going to start to get some momentum with these habits. So I want you just to know that if some of these marketing monsters pop up, pay attention, note the ones that particularly distract you. And in a future class, I promise that I'll give you some concrete solutions for overcoming them. So between now and then, enjoy yourself, have some fun practicing these recipes, and I can't wait to hear what kind of business it's going to activate through tiny marketing actions. Enjoy yourself, and I'll talk to you next class.
We hope Pam has inspired you to get started with some tiny marketing actions of your own. You'll find a link to download the workbook that goes with this class in the class description. This class is part 1 of a 3-part series. You'll find the links to parts 2 and 3 also in the description. If you're interested in working directly with Pam, she teaches a 6-week Tiny Marketing Actions class. You'll find a link to learn more about that in the class description as well. If you'd like to try out PosterMyWall, the design and marketing application designed specifically for small business, use promo code MAXIMIZE30. That'll give you 30% off on an annual or monthly subscription. This code is good for 30 days. We hope you'll share this video with your small business marketer friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more easy to implement marketing tips. Thank you for watching.